Good afternoon and welcome to the Sam Lacrosse Show. Happy almost New Year and Monday to everybody. What makes a person exceptional? Ever since self-improvement was invented about a century ago by Napoleon Hill upon the publication of Think and Grow Rich, Americans have been both asking and attempting to answer this question. The interesting thing is that for all of the capital and resources that we've thrown at this most existential of questions, to the tune of hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars coming in various formats, we haven't come close to answering it, at least at a generalized level, so that everyone knows what the answer actually is. And this is for many reasons, of course. What makes a person exceptional is inherently different to all types of people. Some people do not want to self-actualize, to become the best they can be, to maximize their life, which is fine, by the way. I'm not talking to those people anyway. They just want to live a normal life, to be left alone, to be kept to themselves. And I can respect this to a certain degree. It's probably in some ways better than trying to be on top of your game all the time. It's exhausting. I've tried. But this is, in my view, the incorrect question to actually ask. The better question, the question that will define success for all people, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, is the following. Is that the right approach to doing life? To be a quote-unquote normal person? To not engage with the world? To be someone who rides the waves of life and doesn't try to make any themselves? I get where the sentiment comes from, believe me. I've spent the last 6 years fully engulfed in the maelstrom of all parts of our culture. It nearly chewed me up and spit me out more times than I can remember. The appeal to stay outside of the storm is very strong, which is why most people do stay outside of the storm. Yet the people who choose not to contend with the world, to choose the path of self-improvement, have either not acknowledged or refused to acknowledge a point that is becoming more and more evident by the day, and something we've talked a lot about on this show. Average sucks. Heavy sentiment. However, regardless of how hard-hitting some sentiments might be, the ultimate question that must be asked, as with anything, is the following. Is it true? And as clarified multiple times again on this program, that answer is an overwhelming yes. It is an undeniable fact that the state of quote-unquote average in America has fallen off of a cliff as time has progressed. How do we know? Let's look at the historical evidence for starters. I would argue that the invention of the quote-unquote average American lifestyle was invented in the 1950s with the advent of the American middle class after the Second World War. Beforehand, as with most nations, America was largely split into a very large swath of low-income people and a very tiny minority of high-income people, mostly consolidated to those who own natural resources. This is a law of human sociology because he who has the gold makes the rules. However, the American middle class changed that law by doing two things. First, it provided a bridge between the rich and the poor by providing both a landing zone for a middle ground and economic mobility for people to climb up the social ladder. You didn't have to stay where you were anymore. Your destiny was no longer defined by your bloodline, your resources, or where you were born. Second, it democratized social mobility in two ways. By making it accessible to every American who wanted to take advantage of it, and by having Americans make their choices of where they landed on the social strata. Not only could they choose to make their move up the totem pole from anywhere, but they could also stop anywhere and both largely and remarkably be fine. Thus, the American middle class became the gold standard of American living and the American dream for all who came here from other countries and within our own country. That American dream was something like the following. With enough hard work, you could make your way here. A man could provide for his family on a single income. That income would be enough to buy a small but suitable home on a small patch of land and to support a family with around 2 or more children. You could own a car. The job you worked would more or less always be there and support you into retirement as you aged out of the workforce with something like a pension and the taxes you paid to the government via Social Security. But perhaps more importantly, you were no longer sorted by immutable characteristics like race, and were instead sorted into class via some form of sociological natural selection that we still largely can't define what it is. The culture of America was birthed out of these sorting gaps. The old saying of quote-unquote, you are who you surround yourself with, largely applies here. You did life with the people who shared your cultural lifestyle. You went to church with these people, for example. Your kids played t-ball together. You would take turns hosting each other at your homes for card nights and football games on Sundays and Saturdays. What made America the most remarkable nation on earth was the fact that this life, the average life, the simple life, was made possible for anyone who wanted to pursue it. Now, America got in its own ways, certainly, particularly within the heinous cases of racial segregation that also ran concurrent with these times, by the way. But even so, Black Americans and all Americans in general could find a way to success given the formula of what average looked like, what success looked like, at least back then. The sad thing is that this lifestyle in America is gone. We can act as if it still exists, pretend that nothing has changed, plug our ears and say la 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 until we fall on the floor in exasperation. But that does not change the fact that average in soon-to-be 2026 is a completely different average than 1956. And what does this change look like? Well, given the current status of American life nowadays, it is nearly impossible for a man to provide for his family on a single income. The average age of a first-time homebuyer in America is 40 years old. Our birth rates are in the toilet. American corporations are axing jobs via the flattening of the corporate hierarchical job structure and the implementation of AI and other technologies left and right. The American middle class has been completely obliterated, and of it, the culture that defined the majority of America for the past 70 years. This is not saying that we can't go back to that in theory, but this is saying that we are, whether we like it or not, largely back in the place we were before the American middle class was invented, where there are a large number of increasingly poor Americans and a small number of increasingly rich Americans, but this time with no cultural support to bolster either of them. And this is, to put it mildly, a very big problem. America cannot exist with a culture that is bifurcating at as rapid of a pace as it currently is. So instead of focusing on the problem, which far too many young people are doing today, what is the solution to this problem? Why, while problems are important, solutions are the only thing that matter if you truly want to better your life and the lives of those around you. The solution to the problems that most Americans face today is found in the question we began with. What makes a person exceptional? To paraphrase Alex Hormozy, the path of the exceptional person is one of the exception. They simply do not do what everyone else does. It's right there in the definition, after all. Okay, fair enough. But that's only dipping our toe in the water. The real answer, the one who wants to move the needle for everyone who wants to succeed going into 2026, is the inverse of our initial question. What does everyone else, the common person, the average person, do? The importance of answering this question correctly cannot be overstated. A good place to start when trying to get anywhere is to know where you're not wanting to go. You cannot arrive at a destination in the north if all you do is drive south. You cannot hit what you cannot see. You must weed out anything that isn't in your vision with ruthless efficiency. Therefore, if you are going to make a roadmap, that roadmap for how you want to destroy a person in 2026, this is the moniker you would follow. Do what the average person in America does today, in the year 2025, soon to be 2026. Eat processed garbage and only get 180 minutes of exercise a week. Don't commit to following God and going to church. Religion is for sheep, by the way. Get on every single dating app you can and don't go on a date with a single woman who doesn't check any one of your boxes. Scroll TikTok instead of reading books. Believe that your corporate job and or the government is going to take care of you for the rest of your life. Don't take the time and make the effort to develop yourself at all. This may sound obvious to some and to the people that engage with my content, including all of you guys. But for the vast majority of Americans, this is just another day in their life. The state of average has declined in America so badly and so rapidly that the most common state for an American man to be in as he goes into 2026 is with zero close friends, being overweight or obese, addicted to pornography, renting nearly everything of value he possesses, and being disconnected from any sort of meaning and purpose, much less a relationship with Jesus. And the sad part about this is twofold. First, the sad state of American averageness has never been easier to execute upon than it is as we enter 2026. Due to our consumerist culture and limbic capitalist system, being addicted to average has never been easier. More people are hooked on food, porn, pills, technology, and weed than are not hooked on food, pills, porn, technology, and weed. And frankly, it's not even close. Second, the same people that have succumbed to the averageness of American life really, at their core, don't want to be average. They may pretend that they do, that they take some sort of pride in being underdeveloped, underemployed, underskilled, and undervalued. But at their core, they know that they're selling themselves down a river. There is no nobility in poverty and unimpressiveness, and they know that. And this is where this time of year for most is both the most heartbreaking and the most optimistic at the same time. The reason why you can tell that people don't want to be average is that every time this year comes around, the vast majority of them set so-called quote-unquote New Year's resolutions. These resolutions, promises to themselves they've made over and over and over again, are supposedly things they're going to change about the next year. Goals they want to hit, bad habits to shed, routines they want to break, whatever. But let's get real and ask an honest question to ourselves first and foremost. How many of your New Year's resolutions have you actually followed through on? I'll start. 0. As far back as I can remember, up until I stopped making them at the start of my college career, New Year's resolutions have never stuck for me, nor almost anyone else I knew, by the way. It was nothing more than a motivational dopamine hit, a cheap spur-of-the-moment decision that got you through the cold month of January just to cool off even further when February kicked in. And as soon as March comes around, forget it. The vast majority of people are cooked entirely. So why is this? To put it simply, New Year's resolutions are a psyop. They're a culturally reinforced design to dupe people into thinking that just because a year is changing over, that they themselves can just change over. It's only a matter of timing before they get their stuff together and start acting like the person they want to be. Only when the coveted December to January shift happens can they lose that weight, start that company, buy that home, or ask that girl out. But this is a lie. It's untrue. The successful person, the exceptional person we started this conversation with, does not rely on an outside timeline. Rather, he relies on his timeline. He takes agency and control over everything he can to give himself the result that he wants. Outside circumstances are outside circumstances. They're there, and they play a role, for sure. But the biggest role the exceptional person knows must be played, which is the key to anyone succeeding in 2026, is the one that he himself must play. He's not ignorant enough to know that the world around him is changing, that in many ways it's harder than ever to get ahead of the curve, to do all the things that the average man of old could do with far fewer resources and much less hurdles in the way. But that being said, the exceptional person knows something else as well. The exceptional person, the blueprint of every person that is set out to dominate in 2026 and in every year that follows, by the way, knows the following. It's also, in more ways than we give ourselves credit for, easier than it has ever been to get ahead. Even with all the changes he's faced with, the exceptional man knows that the biggest challenge to conquer is himself. Starting in January is foolhardy for anyone who wants to achieve anything great. A date on the calendar does not determine the quality of your life. Neither does the economy, or Joe Biden, or Donald Trump, or the federal funds rate, or the war in Gaza. Average people are the ones who have let outside circumstances dictate their internal circumstances. Exceptional people are the ones who see outside circumstances, but never let them compromise their internal circumstances. So what makes a person exceptional, and what will cause that person to absolutely crush 2026? One word: sovereignty, agency, self-governance, independent authority. In a world that is defined by things that can addict you, ensnare you, and trap you into their clutches, the only ones in the world that thrive are the ones who take ultimate sovereignty over every area of their lives. They leave nothing to chance, and they can otherwise take action on. They methodically and systematically cut out any and everything that is a hindrance to them achieving ultimate dominion in their lives, while simultaneously bringing in everything that enhances it. The biggest threat to your success is you. Victims blame things like the economy, their parents, and the political system. Weak people let their circumstances define exactly how and why their life sucks. They love to wax philosophical about how everything in the world is against them, how they can't get ahead, and how they're somehow owed something because of whatever hardship they faced last week that they cherry-picked for their bad desired situation that they themselves fell into, and is probably, at the end of the day, their fault. But here's the inconvenient truth. All of your hardships have only one thing in common: you. They are your hardships, after all. And this means two things: that they're your responsibility to fix, and that you have an obligation to fix them. The ultimate point of personal freedom is when you come to the realization that no one is going to come bail you out. No one is going to come save you. No help is coming. Your life and everything in it is on you. At the point where you do truly realize this, it may seem daunting, harrowing, and impossible. Good, because it should. Coming to terms with your own insufficiency, your own mediocrity, your own weakness is the best thing that can possibly happen to you. Without being faced with reality and truth, improvement of your life is impossible. Your parents lied to you. You're not perfect just the way you are. You're not closer than you think you are. You have a lot and long way to go, and a lot to do to get there. But this is a good thing because at least you're awake. You're not a sheep, an NPC, an average person in America today that has no clue that they're heading right off the side of a cliff. You don't have much time left, but you still have time. The pursuit of sovereignty is a lifelong pursuit. It does not end, but it must be begun regardless. You will never have a perfect life. That's saying nothing at all. But you can have a great life. And I know this because I have a great life. Many people I know have great lives. The commonality between all of them, the pursuit of sovereignty, massive agency. They do not let anything around them define the life that they live. I had a very good childhood growing up. I know many who are not as fortunate, but yet they've ended up in a similar place, and in many cases better than me, because they made the same choice I did. Massive and relentless agency across every sphere of their life. So here's my charge to all of you as you go into 2026. Take control. Be sovereign. You have all the ability in the world to do what you want. You can have the life you want. You can live how you want. It's not a matter of a day of the year or the circumstances being perfect or the stars aligning in your favor. It's simply a matter of you deciding that the quality of your life that you have, the averageness of your life, is no longer acceptable, that it must be killed, murdered, stamped out by one person and one person only. You. The path of the exceptional person is one of the exception. Be the exception. Go away from the average person. Make a vow to yourself right here and right now. 2025 was your last year of settling. It was your last year of being average in all the ways that you were average. You might not be exceptional right away, and as a matter of practicality, you more than likely won't. But you'll be going away from your old reality by curating a new one. That's something new. That's not a resolution. That's a statement of fact, a covenant that you can only make with yourself. Average sucks, but you don't have to. If your life sucks, the reason is that you suck. That also sucks. But what sucks even more is that you have to be the one who makes it no longer suck. There is no cavalry coming. It's on you. However, when you realize what being exceptional and successful actually looks like, you'll realize something the average person never does. You would have it no other way. Okay, so that was fun. Needed to get that off my chest. I have a big, New Year's person guy. So anyway, so all of that really was to set up. I wanted to make this a conversation about winning and because 2026, the start of a new year. Any happy New Year's, Merry Christmas, by the way. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas with your families. I hope that last episode was helpful. I really enjoyed that one. But I wanted to make this episode about what I have noticed from studying winners, what I have noticed about being a winner, humbly speaking, what I've noticed about knowing a lot of winners in my personal life. And I wanted to set up a generalized formula for us going forward so that we can have a blueprint or somewhat of a methodology to follow when doing all the things that we want to do as we go into 2026, because I know the people that watch this channel are ambitious. They have big goals. They have things they want to accomplish, which I'm all for. And I'm really, really happy about all of those things. Excuse me. And so I want to break this into a conversation, a very, very blunt and honest conversation about what makes a winner, what makes a loser, and how to avoid being a loser and how to start being a winner. Because a lot of people would think that's mean language, that's harsh language. You don't have to put in that stark of a context. But at the end of the day, we need to, because I do believe this is urgent. I really do believe this is urgent because, as I mentioned in my monologue, the world is changing very, very, very rapidly in terms of living a good life and the ability to live a good life. I think the window is shrinking for people to have that opportunity. And I don't want that to shrink for any of you guys. And I don't want that to shrink for the people that I know personally. And so I think this is it's not going to be an easy conversation to have, particularly if you are a loser right now. And there's no shame in being a loser. I was a loser at one point. But we need to take this conversation into a direction that can be helpful to people. And so there is a formula for how winners win across all areas of life. And I want to have that conversation with all of you. And so we want to start with why winners win. And so the reason why I believe winners win, not just in their area of expertise, but in all areas of life. This is the interesting thing you learn about studying winners, people who are great at something, whether that's a great athletes or great business people or great martial artists or anything like that. You see them, they also have a really attractive wife, and they also have a great relationship with their kids. They have a great relationship with God. They have a great business. There's a lot of people that aren't like this, but I'm talking about the truly great people, the people who are aligned, the people who are not off balance and idolizing things, but the people who are great in all areas of their life. And there's few of those people. There are a lot of people who are quote unquote successful in one area, but they're nuts in other areas. But there are the rare breed of people that are just holistic winners and have found a way to hack everything so that they win constantly no matter what. It's like the DJ Khaled song. They win, no matter what, whatever you want to call it. And so the reason why I believe that winners win in all areas of life, and not just a specific area that they're quote unquote an expert in, is because they found out the way to win, the way to become a winner is to ignore their circumstances and focus on bettering themselves. That's how winners win. We're going to get way deeper into that, but that is generally speaking how winners win. And so why is that? Because what people who don't win do is focus on the game that they're playing around them. They focus on their competition. They focus on this person that's next to them in the cubicle. They focus on this content creator, but they don't focus on themselves. And therefore, they atrophy on the inside. And once they get an opportunity, once they have an opportunity to put themselves out there and get a promotion or to increase their income or something, they blow it because they're not ready for the opportunity. And so winners largely ignore their circumstances, believe it or not. They ignore the opposing team. They ignore the guy next to them in the cubicle. And they focus on what can I do to become a better person, to become a better man, to become a better leader, a better father, husband, wife, girlfriend, whatever you want, executive, whatever you want to call it. And I think the person who really explained this well is a guy by the name of Miyamoto Musashi. So if you guys don't know who Miyamoto Musashi is, he wrote a phenomenal book, probably close to not 1,000, maybe 1,000 years ago, but like hundreds and hundreds of years ago, long time ago, back in the ancient days of the samurai in Japan, like actual samurai, like not even kung fu karate movies, way past that point. And so he was the deadliest samurai ever recorded on record in Japanese culture, which is really saying something. He killed dozens of people protecting the fiefdom of where he was tasked to protect. And he wrote this book about life and about martial arts and about samurai culture called The Book of Five Rings. And he has this quote. Joe Rogan has it tattooed on his bicep, I believe. He has a tattoo of Miyamoto Musashi tattooed on his right arm. And the quote that has become very, very famous over time for all of these things is that once you know the way broadly, you see it in all things. And I love that quote. I love that quote because that is exactly how winners win. They know the way broadly. They know the way to success broadly. And once they know the way to win one thing, they can multiply that and expand that to win in multiple areas of their life. That is the cheat code to success. Because a lot of people think success in one area is different than success in another area. And winning in one area is different than winning in another area. And that could not be further from the truth. It's just not true. And I think the reason we know it's not true is because there is no way that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson should have a successful career in Hollywood, a successful career in starting a tequila company, a successful career in running a football organization, a successful career in name your X, Y, and Z thing. But Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, as an example, is successful in all of those areas because he understands that principle of once you know how to win in one area, you can multiply that in other areas. Take your whatever example you want to say. Michael Jordan, even though his personal life's kind of a mess, but it's not, I think it's maybe not a mess now. Shaquille O'Neal, Matthew McConaughey, Donald Trump, like name your person. And all of these men have flaws. There's no perfect man out there, but they all are so excellent in everything, largely speaking, and they've won in so many different areas of their life because they understand this principle. There's this Bible verse in Matthew chapter 13, verse 12 called the Matthew principle. And Jesus says that for those who have everything, more will be given, and for those who have nothing, more will be taken away from you, which is a really hard pill to swallow and a really cruel saying, especially coming from the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. But when you understand what Jesus really means when saying that, it's the exact same thing as Musashi said. And again, these are guys in totally different cultures. This is a guy in imperialist Japan way back in like hundreds of years before I'm recording this right now. And this is a guy 2,000 years ago talking in the Middle East. But they understand the same concept. Winning compounds because winners understand that winning is not luck, winning is not circumstantial, winning is not accidental. Winning is a formula. There is a formula to winning. There is a hack to winning. And winners and the ability to win have three things in common, as far as I can tell. And there are probably multiple layers you can go down in this, but I have three that stick out to me. And the first one is the ability to perform without having a purpose to perform. This comes from David Goggins, who is one of my role models and a big inspiration to me and to millions of people, probably a lot of people watching the show. And David Goggins said this in his second book called Never Finish, which was published actually with my publisher, Scribe Media. And so that's where David Goggins was able to publish his book because everyone wouldn't publish it, but Scribe was the first one to take it on. So good for Scribe Media. Eric Jorgensen and all those guys are over there. And so Goggins, I think he first talked about this on Chris Williamson's show. I think that was the first podcast he did. 3 when he came back to write the book. He did Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson, he did Rogan, and he did Andrew Huberman's show. And so he did that one where you take a shot at Dan Crenshaw, and Dan Crenshaw's ridiculous and absurd and everything like that, which was kind of funny. But anyways, so Goggins realized that most people need a reason to perform at the highest level, to go out, to work hard, to make money, to achieve things, to work really, really, really hard. And what Goggins found out, which is the thing that has been able to take him to the heights that he's been able to get to, is that the ultimate hack that he has assumed upon himself and that he's realized inside of himself is that, and that he has, by the way, taken to the greatest extreme possible, which is, we can debate that another time, but he's taken this to the utmost extreme, is that performance without a purpose is the way to achievement. Because, he says the example Goggins does all the time, about, people coming up to the street and doing like, why are you punishing yourself? Are you like a sadist? Like, why are you, putting yourself in so much pain? And he says, I have no reason to, but I do it because my job, my duty, my purpose in life is to perform all the time. I cannot be weak. I cannot stop. I cannot afford to get surgery on my knees. I can't, all that kind of thing. Because the people that understand this, that understand that the key to success and the key to winning and what winners realize across all areas of life, business, ministry, family, everything else, is that the without a purpose part, when you divorce yourself from a purpose, a achievement, a goal, you realize that there is no end. The pursuit of greatness is infinite. It's constant. You can never stop going in that area. There is no stopping point. Tom Brady's famous quote, "What's my favorite ring? The next one." Because those who understand this in all areas of their life do not need a purpose to perform, because performance is the purpose. It is not an option for these folks to not do well in something. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And the winners in the world, in all areas of life, they realize this, they know this, and they evangelize this. They go about their lives this way. High performance is not a standard, it is the standard. And if they fall underneath that, they take issue with that and they go about fixing it. So that's the first reason. The second reason why winners keep winning is they can keep doing without seeing the results of their doing. This is an Alex Hormozy quote. And so what does this mean? The number one quality that I see, that I have personally seen, and there's 3 of them, but this is the one that I've seen the most in successful people, in myself, in people that I respect, is they have and this is, by the way, again, across all industries. It doesn't matter where this person is or what this person's doing. Successful people in this vein have an incredibly high pain tolerance. like almost sickeningly high. Like most people, if they had to endure what these people endure, they would keel over and vomit, or they would burst into tears, or they wouldn't go near the thing that they were doing or they wanted to do with a 10-foot pole. And this is not to call these people weak. This is not to call these people lazy. This is just to call the people that are having this reaction. That's just how most people are. That's the default human condition, is to pursue comfort, not to pursue pain tolerance, even if the thing on the other side is awesome and that a lot of people want it. And I think Hormozy summed it up best with that quote. The great people, the great ones in all spheres of life, can keep doing without seeing the results of their doing. And this feeds right off of Goggins' analysis, by the way, because it might not be right away. In fact, it's probably not going to be right away that you achieve success. It's not going to be right away. It's not an instant thing. You can't put this in the microwave for 30 seconds. But it's the ability to endure, to swing the axe, to keep hammering over time when you cannot see results is what causes you to separate from people. Because most people, when they don't see the results of anything, especially in our instant gratification culture, they quit and they stop. So imagine you start here and you're all going, you're going, person doesn't see results, they stop. But you keep going and going with some other people, doesn't see results, more people fall off. Going and going, stop, fall off. Some people keep going, stop, fall off. Some very few people get going, stop, fall off. And then you're the only one left. And you just have all the market share. And you have vast majorities of opportunity. Because the opportunity did not go away because more people were going after it. The opportunity was still there. But if you're the only one still pursuing it at the end of the way, because you can take the pounding, you can deal with it in various different ways, that is what will allow you to separate long-term from everybody, because you can simply endure the time horizon. Your fight is not against a person, it's not against a company, it's not against a team. It is against a time horizon. And time is the most painful thing to waste and to lose and to use. And if you can keep waxing your time well going into the future, you will win. Period, point blank, full stop. You will win. That's been proven in all industries over time, all industries. And the third factor of why winners win is that they have a maniacal focus, an absolutely maniacal focus about the way they go about life. And so the marriage of the two things that we just talked about, performing without a purpose and to keep doing without seeing the results of their doing, of our doing, into this principle of maniacal focus is the ultimate separator. And this is where the outside, where the circumstantial stuff, the culture that we have created in this country, plays its biggest role in the holding back of people from achieving success. Our culture is built and architected specifically with one goal in mind: to keep you unfocused, to distract you, to remove you from anything that is meaningful in your life, to hold people back from achieving real, sustained success. And the ones who achieve exceptional things are those who tune out everything and ignore everyone in the world who does not share their vision and who is unaligned with where they want to go. And the reason why most people don't want to do this is because there is a tremendous, tremendous social cost for doing this, for going your own way, for not traveling the well-beaten path, the well-traveled path, for going maverick, going rogue, whatever you want to call it. And that involves removing a lot of people from your life who are not willing to do that, or distancing yourself from people who do not want to do that in their lives. And that is very, very, very uncomfortable. And it's not fun. I'm not saying you should take joy in this. I don't take joy in this. I've never taken joy in this. But it is absolutely essential for you to only have people in your life that are supportive of you and your goals. The world's hard enough as it is. Your goals are hard enough to attain as they are. They're goals for a reason. They're hard. You can't easily attain them. That's why you have to write them down and make plans to go after them. We'll get to that in a second. But if you have people actively hating on you, actively not, like discouraging you or taking shots at you or whatever, you need to get them out of your life. You need to. They cannot stay where you want to go. They cannot be in your life. And that's harsh advice. And someone needs to hear that. That's a word for somebody. Someone needs to hear that, because you got a lot of people that are clinging on to your life and are riding on the coattails of your life. It's not okay at all. But yet people do it. And people have this sense of themselves that they can string people along and they'll just come along for the ride and they'll end up being okay. No, they won't. No, they won't. You need to have tunnel vision. The winners in this world across all areas of life, tunnel vision, focus to create what they want. And to prove this, I'm actually looking at this on my whiteboard over there. So Scott Galloway, who wrote a great book a couple of years ago, I believe it might have been last year, called The Algebra of Wealth, which is a wonderful personal finance book. And it's a great book about life and really anything. So he created a formula of how to create financial security and freedom. And there are 4 components of the Algebra of Wealth. I won't get into all of them. I encourage you to read the book and support Prof G. But there is, the way the formula is set up is that wealth is equal to something times, and then there's 3 things that are added to each other. The thing that is the force multiplier of wealth is focus. Scott Galloway has this right. Focus is the force multiplier that creates massive returns. You cannot be distracted. Winners are not distracted. They are maniacally focused on what they need to do to become successful. And when they do that, because winners always do this, they create massive returns for themselves. That is how winning is done. And that is why winners in everything win all the time. It's not for everybody, and everybody would follow it if they could, but the reason why most people don't is because it's very hard to win. But as Miyamoto Musashi once said, once you know the way broadly, once you know how to win broadly, you can see it and do it and act on it and win in all things. Okay, so that's how winners win. So the potentially more uncomfortable question, or maybe not, I guess we'll see how, as we progress through this. So this is, I guess it really isn't up to me, but why do losers lose? That's the other side of this coin. So by contrast, the reason why losers keep losing is that they have outsourced all of their sovereignty to other people and other circumstances. Period. That is exactly why losers lose. That's why they can't get ahead in anything. They take no agency, no responsibility, no self-governance, no anything. And they sit on their hands and wait for the world to come to them and to cater to all of their ambitions, their needs, whichever. Which, plot twist, it never will. It never will come to that. Especially now, in this world that we're in right now, where it's getting more hostile to people who do nothing and who are waiting for this to happen to them, the world will never come around to you. Ever, 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 ever. But the vast majority of people don't understand this, and they don't know this, which is why the world is so cruel to them and why losers keep losing. Because losers, like winners, apply this strategy of not taking sovereignty to every area of their life, to their finances, their relationships, their career, their business, their family, everything. And they just wait for the world to bless them. This is the I can't catch a break people. This is the, oh, the world owes me people. This is, oh, I was so aggrieved and this and that, whatever, people. And what this mentality stems from is the exact opposite of the 3 factors that make winners win in everything all the time, and consequently, when applied in the opposite way, makes losers lose in everything all the time. And so we already kind of went through it with winners. Now let's go through it for losers. So what losers do, the first reason why losers lose in every area of their life and they can never get ahead in anything, is they need a purpose to perform. And the way this best arises is in the trap of motivation. Losers love motivation. They love scrolling TikTok for hours on motivational reels. They love looking up Les Brown motivational speeches on YouTube. or compilation videos of Jordan Peterson or whichever. And I'm not against those things inherently. But this is the kiss of death for anyone who wants to achieve anything. Because when the only thing that moves you to get up off of the couch and do something good, get up off of your laziness and out of your lethargy and do something good to improve yourself, to get out of your own way, to do something with your life and in your life, is because you have a purpose to do so. And that is the kiss of death. That is the kiss of death. Because motivations fade, goals change, and adversity happens. Motivation never lasts, ever. Goals change for some people, and a lot of people, myself included, every single year. Adversity always happens. Your plans never go how they say that they will. Never. I have not met a single plan in my life that has gone exactly how I have said that it was going to go or that I wanted it to go. I've never had that happen, ever. And without an underlying factor that sets the motivation aside, you will be completely underwater. And so without a purpose to perform, without a reason to get out of bed in the morning, most people don't get out of bed every morning. They float through life. They don't have goals. They don't have anything. They do not understand that performance is the purpose, not purpose in the performance. They do not understand that performance is a requirement to success. That it is not a means to the end. Performance is the end itself. You must perform in everything all the time. You must be on your P's and Q's. And most people don't want to do that because it's hard. It's hard. And I get why people don't do it. But I also get, for the people that do engage in this type of activity, this type of behavior, why they never get anywhere. Because they need a reason to do so. And when you always need a reason to do so, you will give yourself every reason to not do so. And this leads into the second reason, which is losers need to see results immediately, or at least in the short term, to keep doing the thing they want to do to become successful. They need to see immediate ROI, return on your investment. This is the get rich quick, I can make you $10,000 a month online in the span of a month. This is that psyop. This is that mess. Every exceptional goal that you want to achieve, every one of them, I don't care what it is, starting a company, marrying a guy, whatever you want to do, is by definition unseen because you do not have it yet. Goals are what you want. They are not what you have, or else they wouldn't be goals. You need to make them a reality. You need to pursue them. You need to drive forward aggressively to achieve goals. And this is what makes most goals that most people set fall into nothing and do nothing and achieve nothing. Because people cannot deal with uncertainty. They cannot deal with the unseen parts of goal setting. So therefore, you must be willing to go a long time without seeing progress that is visible. The Bible talks about this as well. Hope is found in things unseen. And Christians believe that because most of us can't see Jesus, can't talk to Jesus, can't talk to God in an audible fashion. Most people don't get that, at least all the time. I certainly have not. But that principle applies throughout the rest of life because progress is so, like anyone who has gotten in shape and has lost weight or put on muscle knows this. Like you can't just go to the gym for a month and expect the weight to fall off you. You need to keep going for a long time. I was really fat when I was in high school. I was obese. It took a long time to get to the point where I'm at now, where I'm in really, really good shape, and I love the way that I look. It takes a long time. And this is why losers in all areas of life, not just in your fitness, in all areas of life need to see results all the time, and soon, and almost immediate, I would argue. And they end up falling out of step with what they want to achieve when they don't get those things. They need to see results or else they're out. I'm going to do, the X, Y, and Z thing, whatever. They need to see results. and they end up falling out of step with what they want to achieve when they don't get those things. Because if they don't see results, they get scared, they bail out, and they're gone. And the third reason, and again playing into why, in terms of the needing to see tangible progress, a lot of them don't see tangible progress, not because they can't achieve it early. Some people can, some people can't. Depends on what you're going after. But the big reason why a lot of people do not see, and why losers for sure do not see tangible progress, is because they're easily distracted. This is the third reason. They don't have focus. They're distracted. Because losers take into consideration everyone and everything about all the things they want to achieve. Everybody's got an opinion. They listen to every single opinion. Everybody, everything seems awesome, so they look into everything and they think everything is great and that everything's going to work out for them. But this hinders them in two ways. Number one, it either dissuades them from pursuit of what they actually want out of pressure. So they listen to too many people and they listen to too many things. They take advice from everybody. Or it invites them back into the comforts of mediocrity with what everyone else is doing, which leads them to just throw their hands up and abandon their ambitions entirely. They see all of their friends who are chilling on the couch and they look comfortable. They're probably not going to be where they want to be either, but at least they're not in pain. They're chilling and they're dragging you back into the clutches of mediocrity. And that's where you end up going because you listen to everybody. You have no discernment. There's a lot of people in your life who are still unsupportive of what you want to do, and you let them get in your head and infect your mind and distract you and take you out of your zone and take you out of your lane. And that's what kills everybody in this space of goal setting, achievement, whatever, in any area of life, any sphere of life. And so losing has a formula, winning has a formula. The vast majority of people are losers, and they follow the loser formula, which is why they can't get ahead in anything. But winners are able to do the opposite of that. And the key to both why winners win and why losers lose is the ability and the willingness to take agency over your life. Winners take agency and control. Losers do not take agency, do not take control. Winners win in everything because of that principle. Losers lose in everything because of that principle. It really is that simple. And if you are a loser, that doesn't mean you can't fix that. And this episode is designed to help you fix that. But if you think yourself as a loser, examine if you're doing that, taking agency or not. Because I guarantee you, if you answer that question honestly, you can fix it, but honesty must be the starting point with that and with everything else. And so on the advent of the New Year stuff, I want to get into something that's really specific about this point of the year. The performance without a purpose thing, it leads right into goal-setting culture. And I think this is also a problem. This might be a little bit of a controversial take, but I give those all the time, so I really don't care. So goals have been peddled to the masses, to Americans for a very long time. But I realized a couple of years ago, Mark Manson had a great article about this a couple of years ago that really made me reconsider this, that goals, in essence, in mass, are a complete and total psyop. They're an op. And really what the whole goal-setting culture out there, in the vast majority of ways that people talk about it, are meant to disappoint people and send them back into mediocrity after they fail at them. My grand conspiracy about all of this is that the reason why self-help gurus talk about goals all the time is so that people fail at them and they buy more books. They buy more courses. They buy more mastermind tickets. They buy more speaking engagements from them. They endorse their products more. Goals are a psyop for that reason, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not going to get into all my tinfoil hat, or I don't really think that's a tinfoil hat thing, but I'm not going to get into that tonight. But that's the biggest reason why, is because goals, we need to have an honest conversation about what the purpose of goals actually are. And I am not anti-goals, by the way. I'm not. But what I am is I'm incredibly pro habits. I'm incredibly pro habits because habits are superior to goals. In almost, especially if you're just starting out, if you are a loser and you want to become a winner, focus on habits. Do not focus on goals. Everybody who comes to me for advice, I ask them about their habits. I almost never ask them about their goals, especially if they're in a really bad place. Why? Because goals are only possible and sustainable when you develop practices underneath them that supports them through their conclusion and their finish. And we can name examples of this everywhere. So like, for example, if someone wants liposuction, someone's really, really overweight. They want liposuction, fine. They go to a doctor, they get a tummy tuck, they get whatever they want to do. And they just have a big fold of skin on their stomach, but they're down 100 pounds because they get all the fat sucked out of them. But then they put that weight right back on. Why? No habits. They went for the quick fix. They went for the hack. This is why Ozempic users are stalling out, by the way. You know, health insurance is in a real interesting spot right now. Health insurance premiums are going up like crazy. Healthcare costs are really, really going up. That Ozempic's going to get a lot more expensive for a lot of people because Ozempic is loved by the medical insurance companies and who pass that on to consumers. A lot of people aren't going to get Ozempic in 2026. And this is why, and we're finding out, by the way, in studies, in medical studies, Ozempic is stalling out. It's failing. It's not being seen as a long-term solution. It has its purposes, but for the vast majority, this magic pill stuff, it's not working. Fad diets are the exact same way. Just eat meat for 2 weeks. Okay, what happens in week 3 when your body's starving and you got cramps and you can't move? This is why pickup artistry fell out of midair. All of them have, because there are only so many lines you can say to a girl at a bar to get her to laugh at a stupid joke that you tell her, to get her to like you. And all of these things, they have one thing in common. They are all unsustainable. And so a golden rule to follow in this scenario is that if you cannot sustain it, whatever that it is, if you cannot sustain that habit, that thing, that goal that you want, it is not worth doing and it is inherently a waste of your time. If you cannot sustain it in the long term, it is not worth your effort. It's not. And so, again, I'm not anti-goals, but the key to goals and the whole point of what I want to get across in this conversation is that the key to goals is that you need to make the habit first. If you're starting out, especially, and you're going after a new goal, and this is for even my experienced people who are really into personal development and are winners and are excellent people, but if you want to branch out into a new area, achieve something new, go after a different goal, that's fine. You do the habit first, and then the habit becomes the goal over time. So if you're going to get aggressive and you want to set aggressive standards for yourself, I'm all for that. But get aggressive with your habits. Again, performance is the purpose. Habits are a performance. You perform a certain day. Get aggressive with your habits first. And if you're just starting out with this whole self-improvement thing, start small, but work up. And don't set massive goals, set massive habits for yourself. And so there's that saying, you always underestimate or overestimate what you can do in a year and underestimate what you can do in 10 years. And the same is exactly true when you're setting goals for the new year. If you maximize your routine in the daily, your habits in the daily, that will spread and that will multiply into the weekly, into the yearly. Again, you overestimate what you can achieve in a day, but you underestimate what you can achieve in 365 days. The long term is always short-sighted because, again, we cannot see the future. We can see tomorrow and we can say, oh, I'm going to do this massive, big workout thing. Like, no, you won't. Sorry. No, you won't. It's not how human beings work. It's not how we've ever worked. And this all leads back into doing the thing without seeing results. The winners are the people who can keep doing without seeing the results of their doing. Habits are boring, and why most people don't do them and implement them and work them into their system of goals and everything like that, because you don't get to see the results of them being practiced over and over and over and over again. Swinging the axe is not fun. It's not sexy. It's not going to be on an Instagram reel. However, this is where the habit building portion of all of this is where the perseverance and the endurance comes in. Because if you are able to hang on long enough, and it is sometimes just about hanging on, if you are able to hang on long enough to see results, the cool thing is that you become addicted to them, the habits and the goals. You get a 2-for-1. It's awesome. I've had this happen in every area I've succeeded in. Business, my health, friendships, everything like that. When you have good habits stacked on top of everything, and you have goals that bolster all of those, winning becomes really, really, really fun. Because you see results after a while. If you are able to hang on long enough to see results, you're like, oh, wow, this is working. Oh, wow, I'm able to achieve this thing, whatever that thing is. And then you drill down further on your habits. And you go harder on your habits, harder on your goals. You go way into the deep end. And then the flywheel starts turning and amping up way, 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 way more aggressively. And you start to go into overdrive, and man, is that fun. Man, is that fun. And that is how the winners win. Emphasize habits. Don't emphasize goals, because goals are a byproduct of your habits. Habits are not necessarily a byproduct of your goals. No matter where you are, start with habits and use that as your formula to win in anything. Okay, so I want to land the plane here. So success has a formula. We all know that now success has a formula. We've extrapolated on that this entire show. And now that we know the way to success, and now we need to get very, very practical about how to attain success in whatever area we want to attain success in. And I have used this system, and I didn't know that I was always using this system, but writing out this episode and fleshing all this out, I've realized I've more or less used this to achieve every single major accomplishment of my life. And I plan on using it in 2026 to set myself up for success in two ways, for me personally, with my business and with my romantic life. They're the two biggest things. I just got a big wake-up call a couple weeks ago at a conference I was at. Shout out to the Affluent Standard. And all my guys keeping me accountable, all my guys in my small group, everything like that. These are the two biggest things I want to knock out in 2026. And I'm confident that I will make significant strides because of this system and because of all the things that I'm doing to put myself in that position. Success leaves clues. Success has a formula. And so there are three very practical things that I think everyone should do and take stock of as we go into this new year in order to dominate in 2026, whatever you want to do, achieve your goals, whatever you want to do. And the biggest thing to achieve your goals, as we just mentioned, is to set habits. I would not focus on setting goals. I would focus on setting habits. Particularly if you have never had a process of setting habits, if you're only a goal person, do your typical segmentation that you do at the start of the year. I want to do this financially. I want to do this relationally. I want to do this with charity. I want to do this with my family. I want to do this with my wife, whatever. Do your typical segmentation. I want to do this with my physical health, my mental health, whatever. Do that typical segmentation. That's fine. Envision a goal. I want to bench 315 by the end of the year, whatever. We'll use an easy example. And then reverse engineer that to get daily habits that will allow you to achieve that goal by the end of the year. So for example, if you just say at the start of the year, I want to bench 315 by the end of the year, you can maybe bench like 185 right now. I want to get up to 315 by the end of the year. It's almost doubling your bench. And you say, well, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to hit the gym and I'm going to go really hard on chest. I'm going to max out every single day. It's like, yeah, like you're probably going to burn out. But what if I said, okay, do 200 push-ups a day and 100 reps of a base weight in 10 sets. 300 total reps, 200 body reps, 100 weighted reps with some kind of a bench. You go 185 or max is 185. I just said this a couple minutes ago. 165 for 100 reps for 10 sets. and you try to increase that by 5 pounds a week. A lot more attainable. I guarantee you, if you do 200 push-ups and 100 reps of a base weight of bench over 10 sets, so 300 reps total, 200 push-ups, 100 weighted bench reps, you will hit that goal. I guarantee you that, almost for a fact. But that is a lot harder to do because it's a habit. It's not a goal. It's a daily goal, maybe, if you want to frame it that way, but it's a habit, which will lead to a goal. So have a goal set, but then map out a habit in terms of what you want to do to achieve that goal. And that habit will allow you to achieve the goal. Habits lead to goals. Goals don't necessarily lead to habits. In fact, I would say that they don't in large segmentations. So that would be the first thing I would suggest. The second thing I would suggest is to commit heavily into the biggest area of weakness in your life. And do not stop. Do not stop. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how painful it is, no matter how much you want to scream and say that this is awful and I want to get off the roller coaster, do not get off the roller coaster. So Jordan Peterson, he has a great rule about this in the second book, Beyond Order. So it's the second rule, number 7. Work as hard as you possibly can on one thing and see what happens. Especially if you're new to this whole process, this is what I would recommend to the newer person, but also to the experienced people. This is one of my absolute favorite rules from Dr. Peterson and what he recites. And it's really true. And because this is, again, an amplification of what we talked about earlier when we talked about focus. This is where focus comes into play. When you dig and dig and dig into one area of your life and you don't give up, you don't give yourself room to come back up for air. You need to make it work. And you force yourself to focus. You have tunnel vision into that one thing. He says, see what happens. I think good things will happen. Tunnel vision is the one thing that will give you immense clarity on one thing, will give you immense clarity into the one thing. If you want to bench 315 and all you think about and all you really focus your life on is benching 315, you'll probably end up benching 315. Don't make it an idol. Don't do that. But make it your focus. So I've had a theme over the last couple of years where I focused on really improving one major aspect of my life over the last 4 years. And I've largely done that in whatever those 4 areas are as I've gone through my life and done all those things. And that is because I gave myself no choice but to focus. So give yourself no choice but to focus on whatever your thing is. Because if you give yourself no choice but to focus, you will focus and you will achieve and you will get the right thing that you want in that area of your life. And then on the focus element, here's the third thing. Only pick 5 people to listen to. 5 people. That's it. No more. No more than 5. Only take the opinions and the attitudes of 5 people seriously into your habits, into your goals, into your focus for 2026. Because focus also comes into play with who you listen to and why you listen to them. You should be very, very careful, as I've talked about through this entire show, with how you go after the things you want. And that begins with you curating your reality, making your reality in your image to only people who want to see you win. If you need to cut people out, cut people out. If you need to remove people from your life, remove people from your life. Be very, very, very careful about this. You don't need the noise. Again, the world is hard enough as it is. But you need the right people giving you the right type of noise. You need people encouraging you, cheering you on, wanting you to win. Because winning can only be done when you have the right type of people in your corner, when you have the right type of people supporting you throughout the process. People who aren't jealous, people who aren't hating on you, people who aren't discouraging you in both subtle and open ways. And you need to dial down the people that you listen to. Unfollow the people on social media who you don't even talk to anymore. Get those people out of your life. Get those people out of your phone. Don't text them back. You don't owe them an explanation. If you want to dominate 2026, your focus needs to be right. And to get your focus right, you need to have people around you to dial in your focus, which starts with having the right people in your life, because the right people in your life will push you to where you want to be. The wrong people in your life will drag you back down with them. And if you're watching this channel, you shouldn't want to be dragged back down, because you want to have an awesome 2026, not a 2026 like maybe your 2025 was. And it starts with the company you keep and the people you surround yourself with. Demographics are destiny. And that includes the people specifically that you surround yourself with. If you're around a bad demographic of people, leave. Cut them out. Do what you need to do. You don't need the noise. It only complicates and adds bad things to the problem. Get out of that environment and get out of it now. You don't need it. I know you think that you do, but you don't need it and you don't need them. You only need the right type of people. Only care about what the people you love think, because that's all at the end of the day that matters. Thank you all for watching. Own the day, open your mind. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and see you next week and in 2026.